Today's episode of Market Zero is brought to you by thegrandslamdunk.com, featuring sports talk, pop culture critiques, and enough nonsense to fill a stadium. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or just visit the website. Market.
Oh, yes. Big Mike, do you happen to know what this is?
That is the Born, sir.
That is the Born. That is the Born. And we're doing this. We're doing this intro, this very different and special intro. Welcome back and welcome home, ladies and gentlemen, to the 27th episode of the Market Zero podcast. I am Ben, broadcasting to you from the southern den of the Ben, and I've got Big Mike on the phone with me, and we wanted to bring in with a little different music today because Jason Bourne comes back this weekend, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to get off your asses, and you need to go to the movie theater, and you need to watch Jason Bourne kick some ass, because it should be a good time, and I'm looking forward to it. Big Mike, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I am also looking forward to the Born. Not the Jeremy Rayner version, who was terrible, by the way,
Right.
but the original Matt Damon version of the Born.
Nah, I'm excited. It looks good. We did our summer movie preview podcast, what feels like ages ago. And this was my top pick, and it's finally here. I feel like it's taken us forever to get here, but here we are. Welcome back and welcome home. Big Mike in the house. As I said, I am Ben, live broadcasting to you from the Ben Den, and there's a couple things we wanted to. One of the big topics that we've always talked about doing with the Market Zero podcast is a debate that myself, you, G Money Grant, plug in any Green brother that we know, anybody that we've ever played football with, anybody that has ever played football. We wanted this debate comes up all the time as to who is the greatest professional quarterback of all time. So we wanted to kind of dive into that because, Jason Bourne comes to us this weekend, and the NFL has come to us already with training camp rolling in and all those types of things. So we figured this would be a good time to introduce and go from there. You good with that, Big Mike?
I'm good to go.
Cool, man. Cool. So we put together a top 5 list, and we both came and we put our own top 5s, and then we got a couple honorable mentions. I'm gonna start with my number 5. He just recently retired. He played most of his career with the Indianapolis Colts, and then he ended up with the Denver Broncos, the Sheriff, Peyton Manning. I have him at number 5, Big Mike.
That's a good pick there. I have PFM as the number 1 quarterback of all time.
Where you have him all the way up there. Okay.
Oh, dude, are you kidding me?
Okay.
I mean, not only did this dude have like every passing record in the NFL, but he has innovated so much of the way the NFL is played today that, I mean, the NFL at passing isn't even close, isn't even touching what it is now if it weren't for Peyton Manning.
No, I completely agree with that. Our lists are interesting when we look at them because our perspectives are completely different. Records carry a lot of weight with you, obviously.
They do.
Why? I guess because for me, a lot of it has to do with championship games won and played in. That's kind of something that I look at. Why do you weigh records more than getting through a tournament and getting all the way to the end?
I think I go on just pure passing alone for quarterbacks, and the way you handle yourself on the field. I mean, as point 8 right now this year was Peyton Manning had one of his career worst seasons ever, but he had an amazing defense and a great supporting cast, and that's why they won the Super Bowl. So football is the number 1 team sport of all time for anything. You have to have a squad to go win championships. That's why some of the guys on my list didn't have those pieces together, and they didn't win championships and things like that, which I know at least one of them is going to be a huge argument between us. But I'm going on pure ability and statistical reasoning right now, as my boy Dougie Fresh would say.
Yeah. No, I'm good with that. I think that's a legitimate argument because when you say in football being the ultimate team game, you're absolutely right. 11 guys have to work together at one time in order for one thing to be successful.
Exactly.
And whether that's on offense or defense. That's why, I think you and I both were raised to think of it in that as that it's the greatest team game out there, just because there are so many variables and so many moving pieces that have to be right to go. So I think that's a good argument to put up against Super Bowls and Super Bowl appearances and Super Bowl victories. I think that's a fair thing to look at it.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Just because, like I said, for me, it's personal ability and how you affected the game itself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that's three of the guys on my list here are how not only their ability on the field, which is tremendous, but the way they affected the NFL and the organization and the aspect of playing professional football. So,
yeah, you weigh more the impact of them on the game.
Yes, yeah, definitely the impact.
So then let me ask you this then. My number 4 is Johnny Unitas. And I put him up there as being someone who has the way that I learned about football was going back and watching those old NFL film tapes. You know what I'm saying? Like the ones, the game up in Green Bay, it's escaping me now. I always do this, man. I always forget it. It's not the Ice Bowl. Is it the Ice Bowl? It is the Ice Bowl. Thank you. Where the Packers are playing the Cowboys and those types of things. Like I remember, and you seeing Vince Lombardi and all those things. And I remember watching old clips of Johnny Unitas and how he kind of revolutionized professional football at that time from the quarterback position, coming up to the line, being Peyton Manning before Peyton Manning was Peyton Manning. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that's why I take someone like Johnny U and I put him over Manning, because I see Manning carrying the torch of Johnny Unitas with innovation in the game of football. But I give credit, I guess, to the creator of it, and for me, that would be Johnny U.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Like I told you, we've been talking off pod here. I'm a modern day football guy.
Right.
I think the same thing with baseball. I'm a modern day baseball guy in any sports like that, where nowadays it's just a bigger, stronger, faster athlete. And
sure.
In my opinion, in a lot of sports, not necessarily all, but a lot of sports where you can't plug in guys from the 60s, 70s, and have them play nowadays. It'd be atrocious. They would get destroyed. It's not the same game. It's a faster game. It's a more physical game. That's why, like I told you before, like any of the old guys, like we're talking about slinging Sammy Baugh back here. One of the guys, he originated throwing the ball over the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And where, yes, he invaded the game by doing that, but come on, man, slinging Sammy Baugh, he's slinging water bottles on the sideline if he's playing nowadays, you know what I mean?
I think I have slinging Sammy Baugh as an honorable mention on my. Again, we only did top 5 when we threw this.
We only did top 5.
This
I have
list
3
together.
honorable mentions, and like I said, for my list, I took all guys who were retired.
Well, you know what? The other thing too that you did that I noticed, you picked all 5 of your guys are guys that you have seen play.
Definitely.
I got 2 guys on there that on mine that one I definitely didn't ever see play live, and another one I saw the tail end of him in Joe Montana, who I have at number 3.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, proof is in the pie. I have to, we've always at the house here. We've always lived it. Hey, either picks or it didn't happen. I got to be able to see it for me to believe in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yeah, that's kind of my process on it. If I've seen you play and I've seen your ability, then I'm okay with it. Right? Words of legend can only go so far in modern sports.
No, I like that, man. I like that. Get your ass out there and show me.
Exactly. Hey, don't talk about it. Be about it.
I'm with that. Who's number? Where'd you at? You had Peyton Manning number 1. right?
So I got PFM, Peyton Manning #1 for everything he's done for the game. I got Brett Favre is my #2. One for the starts, for the consecutive starts, because I mean the atmosphere he played in Green Bay, just the hard position it is not to get injured, to get hit, and to keep going. And the fact that for me, Favre, with the record and everything he has, that he surpassed a lot of Dan Marino's records and stuff like that. That he was just a kid, and I loved watching him play because that's how you're supposed to play. You know, no matter what you say, professional sports wise, the sports are still a game, and every time you watch that guy play, it's like he was having fun. One of my favorite memories is of him and Warren Sapp talking shit to each other in the middle of the field, and they're just jawing at it, going at it, and I mean, he gets sacked, he gets back up, talks shit to him, like, come on, keep reading, big dog, let's go. I love that about it. I love his competitive nature about it. And, for me, especially playing up in Green Bay and the weather, and, where there were different rules about practicing with pads, getting hit, and, different training regiments, and, those kind of things. I just love the way he played, and his game speaks for itself. I do feel bad at the tail end of his career. He was, kind of in shambles at the end of his career, playing for the Vikings and the Jets and stuff like that. And I almost, it almost got to a point to me where that almost tarnished his career, playing the last 3 seasons, coming out of retirement and stuff like that. I'll tell you the one thing that I do put on here for the quarterbacks though is that you've been in how much you've been in the press, for a lot of stuff. For me, I always get hilarious when guys are in movies and stuff like that. And one of my favorite movies of all time, There's Something About Mary. Favre in there for that. I always thought that was hilarious. I love seeing stuff like that, but except for his one incident with a certain reporter. Except for that, he's pretty clean slate about everything. And like I said, I just really, really enjoyed watching him play when I was a kid. I used to love watching his crazy arm angles when he'd throw, sling it from the side, underhand one, shovel pass one to make a play. And, I just love watching him play. And then, like I said, all his records alone speak for themselves.
You went full John Madden there, bro. That's here's my problem with Favre. Here's why he's not on my top 5. I feel like the records that he got, the consecutive game record is the most impressive record to me for him. I think that's the most impressive record that he has, to play that position and to suck it up, because you get hit playing quarterback. Even the good ones get hit, man. Like, it's football. You're going to get hit. You may, if you're on a really good team, you may be able to get by in the regular season, but at some point, you're going to run up against the defense that knows what they're doing, and they're going to hit you in the fucking teeth. And you saw that with the Denver Broncos and the New England Patriots this last year. Tom Brady didn't get hit all year long until the last game he played last season. And
they brought the heat on him.
And he buckled. I don't know if he buckled. Buckled's way too harsh. He lost. He got beat. Yeah, he got beat. There's nothing. And even still, they were in the game. I think people in Denver should remember that. New England was in the game. Denver just had more bullets, I think, at the end of the day. To me, Favre, all the touchdown records, it's not impressive to me because he played so long. And I look at guys who also did more with less. And he made it to 2 Super Bowls. He doesn't win the 1 Super Bowl that he gets if Desmond Howard doesn't take it to the house twice against the Patriots. He lost to John Elway. He lost in Elway's, a Packer team that was favored by double digits, way more than the Carolina Panthers were favored this last season. And to me, that kind of knocks Favre down, because I watched John Elway play, and I watched John Elway beat Brett Favre. And for as fun as Brett Favre, and don't get me wrong, man, Brett was fun to watch and play and dance around and all the tricks that he did. But he did shit that drove me nuts, like taking a knee for Michael Strahan so Michael Strahan can get the sack record instead of, I get that that's a nice thing to do. Why do that? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not a big Brett Favre guy.
I definitely understand at that point. You know, the straight hand side thing. I think that's more of a professional NFL respect for what you've done your whole career, I think.
No, I understand. I get that. I just thought it was cheesy. I did. I thought it was lame. Like, if you want to dap him up and shake his hand and tell him how wonderful he is, like, do that after the game. Don't do it in the middle of the fucking game. You know? I don't know.
I understand.
I just feel like it tarnishes the record. Like, he doesn't... Like, you have to finish the record. Go finish the fucking record. I mean, how many hits did Joe DiMaggio have? 56?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like anybody was giving him anything to, here, continue the streak. You know what? So, I don't know.
Yeah, like I said...
I may sound like an old man with that one. That's okay. Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. And I agree with you on that aspect there. I think that's just one example of what he did, but... like I said, I just love Favre because of his attitude on the field, his competitive nature, and the fact that everybody and their mother, everybody's an armchair quarterback on Monday.
Sure.
And the fact that every time I watched him, win or lose, he always went out there and played like a kid. And, for me, sports was always about playing your very best, trying to win as much as possible, but it was always to me about playing to have fun. And when you can see that at the professional level, where guys are just having fun and playing and having that attitude that, hey, it's okay. I'm going to go bust my butt, and if I win, I win. That's great. I'm excited about it. If I don't, then, that's a downfall on me. But just the way he went about the game every day is why I was so excited about watching him. And just the crazy thing is because every time he had the ball in his hand, you knew he could do something crazy. Plus the fact that old country hick out there from Mississippi had a cannon, though. Even as an old man, he had a cannon.
No, he could definitely sling. He was also tough, dude. Like, I think if he makes it, if there's any argument that's going to sway me into putting him in my top 5, and I say that because I feel like this is an argument that we can always come back to because it is ever evolving. It's the consecutive games and just how tough he really was. And he also had that great moment. And I know we're spending a lot of time on Brett Favre, but that's all right. He had that great moment where his dad died, and then he went out that night. I think it was a Monday night game or a Sunday night game, and he threw for like 3 or 4 touchdowns and 300, 400 plus yards and and did it. And and then he talked about how much it meant to him and how he felt that he had his father there. I mean, I think you can relate to as being taught sports by your dad, the way that your dad coached you on it and raised you with it and doing on stuff like that. Like that, if I could ever do something like that for my dad, like like on his deathbed, I'm able to just kick ass and do something really cool in tribute for him. Like that's that's a special moment,
Yeah, I know this is kind of off topic here, but the one thing I do always love about professional sports, that every time you go on the sideline and stuff like that, the first thing every player says is, "Hi, Mom."
Right.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Hey, Mom, look. All this stuff. And then every time you see these, these Hall of Fame speeches or retirement speeches or anything like that, the first person, all these athletes think of is their dad most of the time. It's like, I know my dad pushed me. I know my dad did this, and I'm glad I made him proud. And always as an athlete, always searching for that acceptance from your father and stuff like that is always a part that makes me laugh. Because, ultimately, when all these players get older and they have kids and they see how coaching and stuff like that is and how a majority of these older players, they become like father figures for some of these younger kids who are coming in, these rookies and stuff, where they're still kids, man. They're still 22, 23, and then, these guys are 35 plus, and, they end up being like father figures on the field on road trips and practice, stuff like that. That's what always makes me laugh. I always respect that out of all the older players who always do that. Like I know Piazza, it's a Hall of Fame, his Hall of Fame speech there this week when he got inducted to the Hall of Fame with Junior Griffey. Was the same thing. My dad worked so hard. I'm glad I made him proud and that kind of stuff. That always touched me a lot every time I heard that kind of stuff.
Oh man, it's how guys like me and you were raised to fall in love and become fans of sports.
Yep.
I mean, you become I think think you and I, and especially more so you than anything else, in you, I mean, sport has kind of always been an avenue for you to find your way in life, with no matter what you've been able to do. Like, you've always kind of tied that in there. So,
Yep.
those things are important, man. And I think that's just traditions being passed down from generation to generation, as it should be, my friend. As it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right, hey, who do you got number 3?
Number 3 is probably my biggest argument from everybody, ironically, is Dan Marino.
Dan Marino. Dan
Just
Marino.
because of his- Go ahead.
No, go ahead, dog.
Okay, so Mike, for Dan Marino, I know he got the short end of the stick on a lot of stuff. I love the Elway to Marino, the documentary and stuff like that.
Great 30 for 30. My favorite 30 for
I
30. Hands down.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's definitely one of my top 3 for sure. But I just thought he got the short end of the stick on everything when he was in Miami. He didn't have a whole lot of great athletes around him, and when he did, he was phenomenal. But the guy, I mean, his career stats just speak for themselves. I mean, the 9-time Pro Bowler, all the NFL records that he held before that with not so many guys around him. He still holds the most 400 plus yard games with 17. 17 games. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, and my argument with him and Elway is the most winning drives out of anybody. Fourth quarter, overtime, winning drives to go down. He has, according to NFL.com, he has 51 final winning drives.
Sure.
Teams where they weren't that good. They weren't that good. And, I mean, it just spoke to me about, how just phenomenal the guy was. Especially coming from a school like Pitt, where Pitt was good back in the day, and they're not so much anymore, but I just loved watching that guy play and throw, and he could throw against anybody.
Sure.
Anybody. Didn't matter who it was. He could sling the rock, and he could figure it out. And, I think he was, in those early 90s, I think he was one of the original guys who could diagnose a game and start throwing the rock everywhere, especially mid to early 90s and stuff like that. I thought he was great at that.
No, I got you. 2 things on Marino for me. I think he has a better movie appearance than your boy Brett Favre. In Ace Ventura: Pet Detective.
Ace Ventura, exactly. I love it. You're a weird guy.
I definitely think that's better than Favre, but that's all right. You quoted the comeback wins. I guess for me, did he ever do it in an AFC Championship game?
And like I said, I know that's going to be my argument.
Yeah.
Everybody is the champion.
Yeah. Did he ever do it in a Super Bowl? To me, it's one thing to come up clutch in the regular season. It's I feel like if you do it in the playoffs, in the highest pressure situation, I feel like that's what separates you. And to me, that's why he's not in my top 5. He's an honorable mention for me. If he would have won a Super Bowl, I could have made I probably would have him up. But if you're going just on pure quarterback skill, I mean, there's nobody else you want. I mean, really, there isn't.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
That quick release, that fire down the field, and I'll tell you, your argument there about winning the AFC Championship. Like, hey, all I know is all the Monday Night Football awards that they give out. They should have called it Mr. Monday Night. Dan Marino, man, for Monday Night Football games, he has 9,654 yards on Monday Night Football. It's the most in history.
Right.
798 completions, 1,300 attempts, and 74 touchdowns.
Yeah.
On Monday Night Football. I mean,
no, it's wild, man.
On a big stage on Monday night, they just call it Mr. Monday Night.
Yeah, but is Monday Night Football? I guess it's a big stage. I mean, it's the national stage.
The only game on, man. Everybody's watching.
That's true. But I mean, in terms of the actual season, every game is important. I don't know, man. I don't know. I wish. I feel like Marino was robbed, kind of like what you were saying, because he never had a squad around him.
Exactly. And like I said, go ahead, my fault.
No. That's It would be interesting to see if you could ever flip Elway and Marino and see who, and see if Marino, like if you could do that. If I could go back and rewind and, all right, let's say Marino is a Bronco and Elway's a Dolphin. Like, how does that bring down? And I really, for me though, that's why I have John Elway number one, because I think John Elway is the best quarterback of all time in terms of when I look at the all-around package, with the number of touchdowns that he threw in his career, the number of comeback wins, coming up in the clutch, winning 2 Super Bowls, going to 5 Super Bowls, basically doing it on his own in the 80s, where, they get to the because he was the Denver offense in the 80s. That's all they had. They didn't have a running game. He wins a Super Bowl when they have a running game, which just proves the point. It's the ultimate team game. But the fact that he was able to get the Broncos to those games, and then, obviously they came up short against the Giants and the Redskins, and then the Niners just absolutely beat the shit out of them. But I feel like Elway gets a boost too, for having a second act. Like, that was his first act. Where, he was able to get to the big dance, but then he never finished. To then his second act, when he's a little older, a little wiser, understands a little bit more, knows that he can't just rely on his legs and himself. So he's got this really good offensive line, and he's got a good running back, and a loudmouth for a tight end who was fantastic. And he finally had a team around him that he rode it out, and he rode it to back-to-back Super Bowls. I think that's another thing too that boosts him up there for me is he did it back to back, and he rode off into the sunset, and he had the dream scenario. That's what Peyton Manning got to do. Peyton Manning got to ride off into the sunset. No matter how shitty he played, he can say that his last football game was a Super Bowl victory, and there are very few of those people out in this world.
Exactly. And for the same argument, but on the flip side of that, that's why Montana isn't in the top 5 for me. All Joe Montana did was win. That guy was a monster. All he did was win. And, that West Coast offense, he mastered that phenomenally. But he had such a great supporting staff around him. Hall of Fame defense almost. And, all the other offensive weapons he had. He had some of the best offensive linemen in the history of the game, blocking for him, that kind of stuff. That's why Joe Montana isn't up there for me. Is because of that. He had all the pieces to go there. And then, all he did was win. He went to Kansas City, and they were garbage, and they still won. Right. And he was that kind of player. But like I said, because of all the pieces he had around him, that's the reason why that Joe Montana's not it.
No, I'm with that. That argument is what knocks Brady down for me. Because he has had arguably the greatest football coach of all time. You can say what you want about him as an ethical professional. I think it's fair to question him there. I think that's fair, given everything that has swirled around the Patriots. But, Brady's had the best coach from the second he walked into the league to the second he's going to leave it, unless he gets cut and goes and plays for the Rams or some shit like that, which won't happen. Thank you. But I do, I think my argument against Brady is one with a little bit of bias, because I am one of those people that is still infuriated with the Patriots for Spygate, not for Deflategate. Deflategate's a joke for me. Spygate's a big deal for me. I have an issue with that. Yeah. I have a really, really big issue with all of how all of that went down, and how it was all covered up and glossed over. The whole thing just fucking smelled like shit to me. And it still bothers me. But I think if Brady comes out this year, after he serves his 4-game suspension, which again is a joke, by the way. He should not be suspended 4 games.
It's a makeup suspension.
It's what they can't get Belichick. So they're going to slap his kid around. Like, that's basically what you're doing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, like, all right, I can't arrest the dad, but I'm going to punch your kid in the balls when I'm leaving the house. Like, that's that's basically what you're doing there. But I actually feel like it works in the Patriots' favor, because that's 4 less games that he has to take hits in.
Exactly. Yes.
And I think that's really good. And I can see Tom Brady coming out being cyborg, Terminator style Brady, and just smoking everybody around the league because he's pissed off and he wants to prove a point, and he knows, you know, his path to victory isn't. There aren't as many roadblocks as there were last year. There's not a big one in Denver anymore. And I say that being the quarterback, being Peyton Manning. And Denver's defense isn't going to be as good. They're going to be really good, but I don't think they're going to be that historic level of good that they were in the playoff run just because they lost some pieces. And that happens, you know. So
yeah.
I feel like Brady can make a leap if he gets one more. And I feel like I'm being pretty harsh on him. But if you're going to knock off John Elway, if you're going to knock off the governor for me on my list, you're going to have to do something that literally leaves me nothing to argue against. And that would be it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you know, mine is more for my top five is guys who are retired, because I solely believe that overall in the history of the game, Brady for me is number two. He's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going purely based on guys who are already done, because his story's not over. And you know,
I like that you do that, dude.
I think for Brady last year, he had so many guys who were injured, and he had subpar receivers and a bunch of rookies last year, a lot of drop passes. And those guys are going to be a year ahead. And, I mean, to be honest with you, 4 games is going to be a lot. But I'm telling you that last, you know, 75% of the season is going to be, I mean, a tough road for anybody who has to play for New England. And, I mean, even then, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, will be okay. I think he can weather the storm for those 4 games. I think they're going to go 3.
They have Belichick, dude. They have Belichick. Belichick is good for, at a minimum, 4 wins just on his preparation during his season. At a minimum, right?
Exactly.
You know, so no, I definitely I like that you hold putting him up there until you've seen the complete resume. I like that.
Exactly. Because I mean, in my opinion, as well, I think Aaron Rodgers will be an argument for a top 5 quarterback when it all.
Yeah, his story isn't done. I feel like for me, he needs to win another Super Bowl, and then his efficiency stats. Have you seen his efficiency stats?
Oh, he's amazing.
They're fucking ridiculous, dude. It's insane. It's something like 70 touchdowns to like 5 interceptions. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous. Yeah, he's going to be. Like I said, he's going to have a very solid argument for top 5, top 10 quarterback of all time when it gets done. So, So let's see. You have Elway as number 1, Brady number 2, Joey Montana for number 3.
Yes, sir.
And who's your number 4?
And then I go Johnny U, and I round out my top 5 with Peyton Manning. Now, the one guy that I think we haven't talked about on your list is in your number 5 slot, and I want to get out of your way and let you make the case for him because I feel like you have a really good one.
All right, so like I said, I'm gonna finish my list. I got PFM my number 1.
Gotcha.
Brett Favre my number 2. Marino number 3. Now my 4 and 5 are two guys who I have a lot of arguments between the two of them, and I'll explain why here. But I got Steve Young.
Oh, that's right. We didn't talk about Steve Young. Yeah, go ahead, dude.
I got Steve Young's my number 4, and then my number 5 I will save for our ending here. Because
good, dude. Good.
He's my personal favorite quarterback.
No, I like it, man. Give me your Steve Young argument. I like that one.
So my Steve Young argument is the guy only really played like 9 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He only really played 9 seasons for San Francisco, and where he had great tutelage under Joe Montana, but he still had Bill Walsh. And
sure,
my argument for him is his career was cut short because of that, because of being a backup to Montana, who's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But because of all his concussions, his health.
Well, he had that too. He also played in the USFL. People don't remember. He played in the USFL before he went to the NFL. Yeah.
LA Express. So I mean, it's for me. Steve Young was amazing because 3-time Super Bowl winner, Super Bowl MVP, 7-time Pro Bowler. He was just amazing, and being a lefty, being a slinger out there was just awesome. I love seeing that slinger out. But for me, what he did for the NFL is he revolutionized the running quarterback. I think when it came back up to it in the mid-90s, early 90s, when people started throwing the ball a little more so like that, and having a mobile quarterback, and I think, still to this day, he still holds the most rushing touchdowns for a quarterback, with 43. And, like I said, one of my honorable mentions is Michael Vick. Say what you want about off the field, that dude is amazing. But
Right.
He says you want off the field. That dude was amazing on the field. But I think Steve Young, what he did for the NFL of being able to be that run pass threat for those things. Granted, he wasn't that fast, but I mean, he could still move now. He had crazy legs back in the day. But I mean, still in that Bill Walsh offense, he could just slang the ball around. And that, once again, he had another great surrounding around him. You know, even though it was only 9 years, if his career went on a couple more years, I think it's an easier argument to make the like the Joe Montana thing. I think, but the fact that he could run and he could slang the ball around the yard a little bit, and I think he led the league in passing 6 times, the league leader in passing 6 times, and he did it 4 consecutive years. He was a league leader in passing.
Right.
I mean, granted, you still have Jerry Rice and Taylor was out there. I mean, those are 2 guys that aren't too bad to be thrown to, definitely.
Right.
But you know, my Steve Young thing is just that his career was cut short, and if he was a consecutive starter on those 49er teams, I honestly think he could have been one of the best of all time. Like, I mean, I'm talking top 1, 2 of all time, I think.
So you have him. He's the best San Francisco 49er quarterback of all time for you.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. See, that's why I don't have him in my 5, because I don't think Montana won 4-4. You know, like, and he had the game-ending drive, and like, to me, like, Steve Young's an honorable mention, but I can't put him in my top 5 because I don't even think he's the best to ever play in his team. With that being said, he's a great quarterback. You know, like, fun to watch. The Super Bowl, I think he set a Super Bowl record when they played the Chargers of the number of passing touchdowns that he had. So, you know, I mean, certainly an outstanding quarterback. And what he did with his legs was great. The concussion stuff, you know, him and Aikman, dude, like, they went through some shit. You know?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Aikman's not even on my list because he had Evan Smith and the Moose back there running the line for him.
And Michael Irvin and an offensive line that would have, you know, plowed, you know, everything out of the way from here to, you know, freaking Bangladesh. Absolutely.
And the most athletic O-lineman of all time out there, Leon, you know.
Right. Well, they had Larry Allen, too. Larry Allen, he benched like 800 pounds or something like that. Just...
Yeah, we could run like a 4.9.
Right, just a freak.
Yeah. But yeah, Steve Young was just good for me because I mean, shoot, he rushed for 4,300 yards in his career in a 9-year consecutive period, I'll say. Which was just amazing to me because, like I said, I think it revolutionized the fact that you could have a running quarterback who could get out of the pocket, and you had to have somebody spying. I mean, I think that's what pulled the spy out to make sure somebody could see him because he could go out there and run a little bit.
He's also really good on TV, and in post football life. He analyzes the game really well. He talks about football in such a way that I feel like people who don't necessarily know the ins and outs of the game can pick it up too. You know, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. I like Steve Young. Yeah. All right, give me number 5, dude.
Okay, my number 5 here is just a personal favorite of my own, and I love this guy. Always loved watching this guy. He's as a fan favorite, he's my number 1 of all time. Just for what his story is and the way he came about coming into the league, how he went to college, played. Was Warren Moon.
Yes.
Warren motherfucking Moon. I love Warren Moon because he played on the Houston Oilers with arguably one of the best offensive linemen in ever play in Bruce Matthews, protecting him there. But he was in Houston. I mean, that guy was unbelievable. In his career in the NFL, he threw for 49,000 yards.
Right.
And this is where the first, third of his career was in Canada. Now, the argument always for Warren Moon is that in his career through Canada and through the NFL, he threw for over 70,000 yards.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
You want to talk about being able to excel at any aspect, any level of game, and be one of the best quarterbacks. I mean, that's it. I've ever seen. Same thing. I watched a little documentary on. I believe it was on ESPN about Warren Moon about how when he was in high school, he ended up stealing his high school tape and making cut-ups of it so he could send it to the University of Washington to go play. I know that his deal is, you're a black quarterback, man. You're not going to play anywhere, not this and that. And his thought was, no, I'm going to go play. And he ended up playing at the University of Washington. He was fantastic at the University of Washington when he played. But then going to, after his career there, going to Canada for 6 seasons, threw for 21,000 yards and 144 touchdowns out there. Granted, Canada, it's the same argument you can make with Ichiro playing in Japan, now playing in majors for all-time career hits, which I understand that. But, the guy was unbelievable. And in 1990, he was the number one quarterback that you wanted on the field in an era of quarterbacks that would just accelerate the game. 9-time Pro Bowler, first team All. He's only first team All Pro for 1 year, but that 1990 year, man, as an MVP, NFL Offensive Player of the Year, AFC Player of the Year. He was just amazing, and his quarterback rating, he still had almost 81 quarterback rating, which is still, fantastic for what he had. And where he had a handful of guys around that were good. He has a good receiving core, but for me, what Warren Moon did for the game. From high school going to college going to Canada come back to the pro, it shows you that the path that you can take to be a success doesn't have to be the straight path that everybody thinks it is. The thing, I know for society that we have now, all the racial conflicts that we have now, of coming in, like I said, in society today. I think what he did for the NFL and for college football, being a black quarterback, he started and was fantastic at a Division I school, University of Washington, and then coming into the NFL and being an elite black quarterback and setting the records that he did, I think is huge for the NFL and for the game itself.
I feel like we were robbed of seeing Warren Moon in his prime, because a lot of his time was spent playing up in Canada, and I feel there's a stigma that I think still exists today, and it definitely existed back when Warren Moon was playing, that black men couldn't play quarterback, and Warren Moon is one of those guys that has completely dispelled that notion. And he just kind of had to sit on his hands for a while before someone was really, legitimately willing to give him a shot. Kind of like how Doug Williams did. Now, Doug Williams didn't have the longevity of a career that Warren Moon had. Warren Moon played, it seemed like forever he played. But I think I like having Warren Moon in your top 5. I like where you put that, man. I remember when you first told me that. You told me that, a couple months ago, and and I think I laughed you out of the room. You weren't happy with me. I don't think we talked for like 2 days. My bad, bro. But I think when you look at the overall records, and you look at the player and you look at this is to me where the longevity argument for Favre, where it hurts Favre, I feel like it strengthens Warren Moon, because he was able to do it at any level that he was asked to do it at.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Hey, give me. We've talked about a couple honorable mentions, man. Give me one that we didn't talk about.
Those are all the guys I had talked about.
Oh, okay.
On the list I've written down.
Okay.
Like I told you, Michael Vick's the only one that I think, just because of what he does on the field, that guy is just unbelievable on the field. Playing at Virginia Tech, he was just amazing, just an all-around amazing. He could do everything. He could run, he could
potential.
throw.
Yep. Unreal potential.
To be honest with you, if he wasn't incarcerated for a time, I honestly believe Michael Vick could have been the most explosive, electrifying player to ever play in the NFL.
He did some very electric things. He was unbelievable. He could throw. You want to talk about a guy who could throw across his body, 70 yards across the field. I remember watching him do that when the Falcons had just gotten their new uniforms. It was like a year or two after that, and he. I think he was coming off an injury. It was a Sunday night game, and he threw the ball across his body like 70 yards on a dime to the wide receiver, who's just running wide open, because nobody thought that, the backside corner was lazy as shit. But with Michael Vick, you couldn't do that. So the potential for Michael Vick will always be one of those great sports questions. The what if. But he's a guy who's had a good second act, even though he did something that was absolutely horrific. He's rebounded, and I mean, shit, he played for the Steelers last year, man. I was all right with that, you know. My mother wasn't very happy, but I was all right with it.
I think the thing about Vic that I loved always watching, he made everything look so easy. And when you're an elitist at the game you play, and you make the hardest things, the most difficult things, it just look like you're playing in the backyard, and you make it look so easy and so fluid and so smooth, like the way he did, man. I mean, like I said, that's where my Steve Young argument comes in, where, you know, especially being a lefty as well, you know, Vic was, he was just so electrifying to watch. And he was just that guy, you never wanted him to have the ball at the end of the game. Never.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't only him throwing it where, you know, he could still slang the ball on a dime at 70 yards. I mean, but the fact that he could take off on you in a second, and I think he single-handedly changed the way you set up your defense, the way your linebacker play has to be, the way your strong safeties have to come down and be able to make tackles in the open field and not just be able to play that deep third, that deep quarter out there. You know, they had to come up and be able to tackle a guy like that in the open field. You know, I think what he did for defenses that plan around him changed the aspect of coverages and spy and you know, who's zone drops and stuff like that. I think he definitely made a huge impact on that. Right.
No, I agree, man. I agree. Michael Vick, you'll never truly know with Michael Vick. You know,
well,
you'll never truly know.
My one quarterback that I always love is Steve DeBerg.
See, that's who I thought. I always love your Steve DeBerg argument.
The guy retires for 5 years and then somehow comes back and wins the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons. He either played in the Super Bowl, I always forget. Hey, you know, Steve DeBerg, he wore the original sideline radio.
I remember you telling me that, yeah.
He wore the original sideline radio, which looked like a 10-pound fucking backpack on him when he was out. It looked like an apple. Right. I always loved Steve
DeBerg out there. All right, I got one more question for you. One more question, sure. and then we'll get out of here. We'll cap this debate. I'm sure G Money will want to get in on this, so I'm sure he'll be responding in a future podcast.
Definitely.
Take Tom Brady out of the equation, because you already, while he's not on the list, he's definitely, for you anyway, he's definitely, it's obvious that he's going to end up, you know, within the top three. You just don't know where exactly he falls until the story ends. So, taking Tom Brady out of the equation, who do you think has the most potential to get and crack the top 5 list of guys who are already playing right now?
Oh, you know, I think that, like I said before, I think the easiest one is Aaron Rodgers right now, because you know, he has the easiest path back to the Super Bowl. I think, you know, like I said, with the way they throw the ball out there,
well, if the Packers are healthy, man, watch out.
Yeah, seriously, watch out. I mean, and I hate to say this, I really do. I mean, and you know, I hate giving you compliments in your team, but I think Big Ben overall, like I said, like the Brett Favre thing for his toughness and the way he plays, I think had the legitimate argument of getting up there, but. I think, like I said, I think Aaron Rodgers has the easiest path back there. I think Andrew Luck is a guy who still needs to prove himself.
Yeah, I think Luck is good. Like, I do. I think he's good.
Yeah.
But I need to see more. I need to see more of Luck.
Exactly.
Roethlisberger, I don't think Roethlisberger. I don't think he ever cracks a top 5. I think he could crack a top 10 if he racks up a couple more Super Bowls. He's already the greatest quarterback. I think he's a better quarterback than Terry Bradshaw. Even though Terry won 4, Terry also, you know, benefited of you know, one of, if not the greatest defenses of all time in the Steel Curtain. Roethlisberger's great. I don't think Ben gets up there. I think
You
when
know, and
you
like-
the checkered past that he has is hard for people to overlook, and that's not necessarily how a quarterback should be judged. But because he has that, people naturally gravitate away from mentioning him in the conversation. Now, if he can get some numbers that are just outstanding and ridiculous, that'd be great. I think Roethlisberger's biggest hindrance for him is he I feel like he's never healthy. Like he's always banged up. He's always missing games and stuff like that. And even though he's tough as shit, and he'll go out there and he'll play on one leg, that hurts the Steelers because the Steelers aren't their best. So I do think he could maybe if they win a couple more, but he's a long shot. My guy, who I think has the most potential to break into my top 5, not Tom Brady, is one Cam Newton.
Are you kidding me?
Scam Newton. Abso-fucking-lutely I am.
Get out of here.
Hear my case. You ready?
Okay, go ahead.
He was 15-1 last year. Tell me who he threw
It's
to.
one of the worst schedules in the NFL.
That's fine. Tell me. It's still whatever. He won 15 games. They only lost one. Like you're playing in the NFL. You're not playing the AAA. Albuquerque Isotopes. You're not doing that. Okay. 15-1 last year. Had unbelievable numbers. Better numbers than a lot of guys. Russell Wilson. I think he had better numbers. Efficiency numbers than Aaron Rodgers. He definitely was the best fantasy football quarterback last year with all the running and passing he was able to do. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions. He had a really bad game against the Broncos. That was a shitty way for Carolina to end their season. But he was all that Carolina, that's all they were on offense was Cam Newton. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. There was nothing else. Kelvin Benjamin was hurt. Their running game, they had an above-average offensive line. I think that was probably his best weapon, but it was him. It was Cam Newton dabbing all over the place. I could see him going a couple roads. I could see him going and getting in the top 5. I could also see him doing something, where he fizzles out or he never quite gets there, like a Dan Fouts, a Boomer Esiason, a Dante Culpepper, a Donovan McNabb. Those types of things. But if I'm a betting man, and I am a betting man, Big Mike, I'd put my money on Scam Newton.
I tell you, I think because he's young and he has the athletic ability to run around and do the things he does. Don't get me wrong. Like I can throw the ball,
Right?
And he has touch. He can do those kind of things. I just don't see him being challenged as much in that league. I'm sure it's going to be different this year. And here's the deal: nobody's going to overlook him and think they're a scam team. You know what I mean? Like all these guys.
Oh no, he definitely has a target. Yep.
And so I think I'm anxious to see how he plays this year with that target on his back, and hopefully with a little better competition around him. I'm just not sold on Cam Newton.
That's fine.
Too inconsistent. And,
Sure.
The thing for me is he's still young.
He's young. Yeah, he's got some time.
The emotional valleys and peaks that he hits on the field, you can't be that as a leader on the field.
Yeah, he's got to grow up.
That's where. Yeah, and that's my argument with a bunch of quarterbacks on here is the way they led their teams on the field. And that's why, like, my Roethlisberger argument is there because, there's nobody else. They've had, half a dozen quarterbacks go through there when he was hurt playing, and you don't want anybody else on the field in Pittsburgh.
No, you don't.
And I'll tell you, my other argument I just thought of, I don't know why this surpassed me here, was Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees had an amazing defense, a fast, physical defense. He was great. He has to be able to put up more numbers, and he needs to get 1 or 2 more wins per season, I think, for him to go there.
Well, he's like, what, 37? Something like that? He's old. He's got a couple years.
He's definitely at the tail end of his career.
I think he's got to win something now. He's an honorable mention guy for me, too. How can you not like Drew Brees?
Drew Brees is a monster.
Yeah, man. Big Mike, we could do this all night, couldn't we?
Oh, I'm telling you, we could do it all day.
It's good to hear from you. It's always good to talk to you, my friend. Real quick, I got to tell you a story about the Colorado Rockies. I'm watching the Rockies last night. They're playing the Baltimore Orioles. Okay, Rockies have a great win last night. Orioles are dealing. The Orioles are perfect through 5. No hit, no walk, no nothing. And then Mark Reynolds, they get a runner on, and Mark Reynolds boomsticks it out, and the Rockies end up winning the game, and it's a really good game, right?
Right.
The Baltimore Orioles announcer, or the play-by-play guy, is a guy by the name of Gary Thorne, who used to do games for ESPN. I think he does football games. He may not do football games anymore for ESPN. I know he did hockey games, okay? When the Avalanche won their first Stanley Cup, the radio announcer, I remember hearing that replayed, but I watched that, and Gary Thorne was calling that game, and I remember his voice and shouting and yelling, and he's a really good play-by-play guy, right? The problem is nobody gave him a sheet of how to pronounce some of the names of the Rockies players, okay? All right? Now, keep in mind, Big Mike, this is game 3 of a 3-game set, so this is the last game of the series. So I can go ahead and presume that he has been fucking up the names for at least 3 games, okay? Now, our favorite third baseman here in Colorado is a guy by the name of Nolan Arenado. We love Nolan Arenado. He's fantastic. A pillar, maybe the top pillar and building block that the Rockies have in their organization in terms of a position player. Okay? I think you can say that. I think that's safe to say. All right? Gary Thorne, who is a seasoned veteran. Nobody in the Orioles organization could help my man out. He was calling him Nolan Arenado.
Yeah,
Nolan,
been an all-star for
right.
The last 4 years and Gold Glove winner.
Right.
I don't remember that guy's name.
Nolan Arenado. Now, being someone who taught in public education for, 13 plus years, however long I did it, I've come across some names that are very difficult to pronounce. So I can understand mispronouncing it. But the fact that nobody helped my man out, and game 3 of a 3-game set, you're calling him Nolan Arenado? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he didn't do the first 2 games. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't around. Maybe there was someone else doing it. But I know he was fucking up there. Here's the best part, Big Mike. The best part.
In his defense, the best third baseman in the league is Manny Machado.
Sure.
So he might have got those 2 mixed up.
Sure. Nolan Arenado. Anyway, the best part of this story, Big Mike, is I hear him saying this, and I'm watching the game, and I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. So I hit the Twitter machine for the GrandSlamDunk.com. Know you, right? At the GrandSlamDunk, know you. That's how you say it. There we go. I'll get it perfect one of these days, right? I hit the Twitter machine, and I tweet to the Baltimore Orioles. I say, hey, fellas, your boy Gary Thorne, could you help him out? He's mispronouncing Nolan's last name. Could you help him out, right? Big Mike in the 8th inning, you know what he was saying?
What?
He was saying Nolan Arenado. So I am going to go ahead right here, right now on the Market Zero podcast. Go ahead and mark that I helped the Baltimore Orioles figure their shit out so they could get the Rockies guys' names right. And I'd like to go ahead and take credit, and I will fucking mark that. What do you think?
I'd say, yeah, that's a definite 100%. And I would definitely say that our influence on the Market Zero podcast, going coast to coast from east to west for all you radio fans, has definitely reached the professional ranks.
There you go, man. We're moving big. Rockies won today. They beat the Mets. They are 50-52 right now. 2 games away from 500, man. Beating the Mets. They beat the Mets on a couple pass balls, and the Mets being Mets. So that's good, man. Hey, Big Mike, I'm glad we were able to finally talk some quarterbacks, some NFL stuff, dude. Keep your eye on the Colorado Rockies, brother. I'm glad that Colorado's treating you well, and you keep on fishing in the morning there, big guy.
Thanks. Hey, I know we're trying to shut down here. Hey, what do you think about Fitzpatrick signing with the Jets and Nick Foles getting released by the LA Rams?
I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said, what do you think about Nick Foles getting
Yeah, it
released?
makes me yawn, dude. It makes me yawn. I don't care. I don't care. Nick Foles is a retread quarterback who is nothing special, and Fitzpatrick we know is going to choke like a dog when it matters most. So it doesn't sway me.
If I was the Jets, in spite of Fitzpatrick, I would have signed Nick Foles for less. But what do I know? Hey, that's why I'm sitting in Colorado, not in the boardroom.
That's a story for another day, man. Why don't we keep our eye on that, and we'll come back in a future podcast and revisit that topic.
All right, my man. Be easy.
Big Mike, always good talking to you, bud. Let's go ahead and mark it.
Mark it.
Market Zero is brought to you by thegrandslamdunk.com.